So once a female is given a leadership position, she can rise much faster than a normal man.
A lot of those immigrants are coming from India because India has the people and the talent, and everybody likes the Indians.
This time, the entire world is dominated by Rahu.
The empire becomes stable, and there's a period of peace. The rights and possibilities for women always increase.
So Venus is a planet of sustainability, and Venus is a planet for females. These two things has become very important in corporate world.
Namaskar. Welcome to Astrolog podcast. I'm your host Anjita. On our channel, we discuss topics related to astrology and allied sciences with some of the world's most renowned and accomplished astrologers, astrology teachers, and Vedic scholars. Today we have a very special podcast because we are going to discuss a trending issue, career and corporate shift, and astrological insight. What is going to happen to the corporate world in the next couple of years? And to discuss this topic tonight, we have with us two distinguished guests, Dr. Andrew Foss and Sri Alok Khandelwal. Dr. Andrew Foss is the co-founder and president of the British Association of Vedic Astrology, and he is also the author of the book, Yoga of the Planets, Their Mantras and Philosophy. Sri Alok Khandelwal is an astrologer, entrepreneur, and an astrology teacher of repute. He is also the founder and managing director of Asttrolok, which is a premier institute in astrology consulting and education. Welcome, Andrew, Alok sir. It's indeed an honor to have both of you on our channel tonight. We have a very burning issue that we are going to discuss tonight. So without much ado, let's dive into the topic straight. Alok sir, my first question would be to you. Like you always say that a birth chart is a mirror of our society because it generally reflects the social trends, the relationship shifts, etc. So when you look at charts now, what is the planetary combinations that you see in the charts which reflect the current trends in the career and dominating careers and the trends in careers?
So I always say this, that the birth chart is always reflecting the society in which we are living, because the kind of soul which are available on this planet right now will be going into the same direction where the society is going. For example, if you take, say, India right now. So India, since the economy is booming, you will see many charts. Most of the charts, they will have a good career now. So people who have taken birth in 2000 also, you will see, and I'm watching it, that they are having a good career. Most of them are having a relationship with foreign land, which was not obvious maybe 20 years back. But now most of them are having good relationship with foreign land, good career, good monetary, good 11th house or second house, but a bad marriage house. You see that? Which was not usual thing before 20 years in India. So if you talk about my age, most of the people will be having good marriage house because like divorce was never heard in the society that time, but a reasonable career house. So that is the shift. And if you see that the economies who are booming, say India, China, maybe US also, whereas economies which are not booming or maybe stagnant, you will see the career houses, 10th house, 6th house, 2nd house, 11th house, are less relevance or maybe weaker charts in terms of career, because we are creating an impact on the entire country as well as the country is also creating an impact on us, because we are here in this part of the world because we have to experience some kind of karma. That's why I'm here. So
Yes.
so I am also all of us are also a reflection of the society, as well as the country or the society is also a reflection for us. This is what I meant when I say this.
Okay. Andrew, would you like to say something before I put my question to you on this?
Well, I do agree. I've observed these things as well. Now the question is, why? Like what I've observed is that because I get lots of clients, corporate, usually in some kind of senior positions, and they're all complaining. In fact, they all have the same complaint, that they're not valued for what they think they're worth. They're not paid what they think they're worth. Why is everybody complaining? See, so what I realized after a while is it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's like, the corporate world today is different from what it was even 10 years or 20 years ago, because there's a certain shift on the philosophical level, we could say, which is that it's become more exploitative. 100 years ago, some clever guy came up with this idea that you have to keep the customers dissatisfied because then they'll keep buying from you. And that's become the retail philosophy. But in the corporate world now, the thing is you have to keep the staff dissatisfied and basically fearing for their job all the time, and pay them as little as possible and give them as little positive feedback as possible. I mean, this is what people tell me, because there's some idea that the people will work harder, they'll try harder, they'll be better servants to the corporation. And basically, and even the universities have taken this corporate concept has taken over in the universities as well. And what you see is a general degradation. Like there's many major American corporations, we don't need to mention any names, they're well known, who have seriously gone down because of the total focus on greed. Like the senior staff get paid something if the stock market goes up. So they say, to hell with the staff, we'll fire 10,000 people, then we'll get a bonus. Or we'll stop paying too much attention to customer service. Notice the way customer service has gone. Most of the big companies, they either have no customer service or it's really pathetic. And then there's standards of production. I mean, aircraft that fall out of the sky and things. It's this, because the management stopped paying attention to serving, providing an excellent product that would produce very happy customers. And there's been a sort of, so this is just observations that I've had, but it's having some stressful effect on the workers. So the workers are getting paid well, like Alok was saying, but they're in a state of stress. They're not happy guys. And when you're stressed, naturally marriage is a mess, isn't it?
Okay.
So I think in a way, it's a certain sort of corruption of the corporate consciousness is having a very poisonous effect on everything. In fact, it's certainly social factors, but it's poisoning the planet because of all the pollution that's being created with no care about it at all. It's like, if we can get away with it, we're going to do it, isn't it? So this is a much bigger problem than just the marriage problem. So that's important, because the drop in fertility everywhere is partly due to the, people's problems in their relationships. But it has a lot to do with pollution, like plastic pollution, these PF chemicals, all these things, which are seriously affecting fertility. And it's like this sort of massive existential problems that are rushing towards us. And every time somebody tries to do something about it, some big vested interest stands up and says no. They tried to do something about plastics recently. There was this conference in Korea, right? Well, Russia and some other oil producers said, no, we're not going to do anything. So, it's killing us, but we're going to go full steam ahead. So I think it's a sort of collective thing. Now, sorry, if my answer's too long, you can stop me. But from a bigger perspective, there's this system of studying the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions. And this was used by the Greeks, the ancient Greeks. So it's thousands of years old. It's not a new thing, because they've observed over these long periods of time that the Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions have a certain pattern. And that pattern does reflect in people's, humanity's experiences. So in about 1782, a period, see these Saturn and Jupiter conjunctions go on in a particular tattva, or the sign, quality of the signs, with certain fire signs, earth signs, like that. So there's 4 signs, there's 4 tattvas that are associated with the signs. I mean, the students of Jyotish know this. And they're very fundamental to everything in Jyotish. It's all about the tattvas. So this thing, we have fire, and then we have earth, and then we have air, and then we have water, and it goes back to fire again. And the cycle of the 4, which is related to dharma, artha, karma, and moksha, covers a period of about 960 years. So about every 250 years, we're in a different cycle. Now, the fire period started in 1782. And if you look at it, that's exactly when. In 1800, the first battery was produced. Around 1780, there was Benjamin Franklin published a book with all his experiments on electricity. And he introduced the ideas of positive and negative charges and all that. It's not like even the Greeks had observed electricity, but they hadn't done anything with it, really. So it was just at that time, there was this kind of surge. And within a few decades, they had motors, and they had batteries, and they had electric cars. The first electric cars came out in the early 1800s. So as soon as the fire thing started, then of course there was coal, and then there was oil, and then, and look where we've got to today. It's just gone completely into another sphere. But it's ended. 2020 was the end and the beginning of the earth. So, if this system is going to have, and last time we shifted into earth from fire, it was definitely kind of a change, and not a necessarily wonderful change either. But so in some sense, there's sort of peaking, this intense, now we have the data centers that are chewing up something like, I don't know, was it 10% of the world's electricity? And the AI has doubled and trebled and quadrupled the consumption. And what are people doing with it? Apparently the big consumption at the moment is people making memes. They're just entertaining themselves with, it's just like, it's lots of fun, but it's like, it's quite possible that we're going to see some kind of collapse of this whole approach based on this astrological or astronomical cycle. So I think that's one thing that because this is a very good topic, and we are at a point of change. It's like there's 2 ways of thinking about things. Either we're kind of alert to the situation and willing to change, or it's like we're insisting on business as usual. And most people are fixated on this business as usual, and business as usual is literally killing us. And we haven't seen that there's going to be much, much more than what we're currently facing. I would say India is leading the world in many respects. I mean, I could cite some things, but recently I did a broadcast on the annual chart. We have the Chaitra Shukla chart. And almost everywhere on the planet is the bad news. But India's reasonably okay. So, we can say lots of nice things about India. And I think that the position for the young people of India is much better than it is in many other places. Partly because India has this wonderful resource right now. It won't necessarily be there in 30 years' time. But right now, there's this amazing resource of young, intelligent, educated people. And if we look at the trends around the world, what we see is a general decline. For example, in populations, population decline is going on in more than 60 countries already. But the countries that are doing well are the ones that allow immigration. And a lot of those immigrants are coming from India because India has the people and the talent. And everybody likes the Indians. Like nobody has a problem with India and the Indians because, it's just like that. So wherever you go, you find Indians naturally, once they get established somewhere, they become the leaders. You find them in government, you find them at the top of the tech industry, you find them at the top of lots of other industries. So there's a tremendous potential for people, to go out from India. And I think what will happen is that there's going to be, right now, there may be a bit of resistance, like getting visas and things may be difficult for some countries. But allow a little bit more time to go, and you'll see that there'll be more welcome. The welcome door will be opening more because they just will they'll need the talent and they'll need the people. So anyway, these are quite a few ideas.
Okay, okay. Alok sir, I would like to ask you a very important and specific question. If you remember the times before COVID happened, the workplace before COVID and our workplace after COVID, there's been a dynamic shift in the way we have started working, and in a way we have started behaving at our workplaces. If these days after COVID, our education, retail, work from home, that is remote working, and so many other things have gone online. We have completely shifted from an offline basis to online. So, what planetary shift or combination or changes could, in your opinion, could have brought this about globally? Because it's a global phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, as Andrew said, after 2020, there is something changing, like the element of the entire universe is changing. And what I think is that the most important and the most dominating force right now is Rahu. You see that. So everywhere it is all Rahu. So Rahu is internet, Rahu is like borders, Rahu is immigration, Rahu is like, and every day, throughout the day, we are talking about viral, right? The term viral. So the content needs to be viral. We are behind everything which is going viral. It is all Rahu, because Rahu is again virus. You see that, and coronavirus. So what has changed after Corona is the domination of Rahu on the entire consciousness of the people. Although somehow it has helped businesses or people who wants to work. Otherwise, if you see the entire kids, the kids who are like teenagers, they are now suffering because of the attention deficiency syndrome, because of this single planet. So what I right now feel is because Rahu gets, Rahu is a Swarashi in Kanya, or maybe you can say it is getting exalted into Mithun, whatever you say. But this time the entire world is dominated by Rahu. And since Rahu creates this technology which is there but cannot seen, Rahu and Ketu, so we are now basically moving towards more work from home, more remote location. Right now also we are into, all of us are into 3 different locations and 2 different countries, right? So people who wants to use it for a positive change, they have used it, but mostly people are suffering because of this. And specifically career, if you see, now all the companies are basically trying to call their people back to office, to infrastructure, but nobody is ready to come. Even people are leaving job, because that's how Rahu works. If you basically keep yourself in one place, Rahu will trap you. And how it does it? Basically, it works on the ether element, the Akash Tattva. So it reduces the Akash Tattva, and then you are not able to think properly. It's a kind of trap which is now being created. So all and as Andrew was saying, AI, again Rahu Ketu. You see that? So we are basically behind Rahu, and it is playing with us. Everybody, you see the kids, you see the Gen Z, they are not even bothered to talk to you. Everybody is in the phone. Everybody. So you go to any metro train, nobody is talking to each other. Everybody is in the phone. So it's the impact of Rahu after COVID, because COVID was because of, again, Rahu. It's a virus. So the entire shift in the human consciousness is now like this. I don't know what time it will take. But right now what I see is a tremendous impact of Rahu and internet on all of us. So that basically we are not using internet now. Internet is using us.
100%.
Very
So
correct.
we are now puppet basically. And Rahu is like very fond of making puppets. Everybody knows, because it will say something in your ear, and then you will run. You see that?
Exactly.
So the entire world is now
Yes.
running because of Rahu.
Yes.
And at the end, if you see now, when it's like 5 years, because of all this transformation in technology, we are into massive stress rather than we should be relieved that we are sitting at home, or maybe now we have that capability to connect with each other from different continents. But we are more into stress. Then that is the quality of Rahu again. It will give you something, but it has a price to take. It will always
Always.
take that. So the prize now is the peace, because Rahu is against peace. So we have lost our peace, and we have got this technology, AI, work from home, connectivity in different continent at one go, different time zone. But it's like not good for humanity, for as per me.
Very well said, sir. So do you see this escalating in the times to come? This effect of Rahu?
It is going to escalate. It is definitely going until unless, like, now Rahu is also into Pisces, and Saturn is also coming into Pisces, and Pisces is a Rashi for boundaries. So it is now going, it is breaking more boundaries. You see, when Andrew was talking, I was thinking, in the last 1.5 year, when it was into this Rashi, AI basically blasted into this 1.5 year.
Yes, exactly.
So you can imagine minimum 18 years, because that is a cycle. Minimum
Yes.
18 years it is going to impact us. And
Okay.
if I'll ask you, or anybody in this world, if I'll take your phone, what will happen? We will feel lifeless without phone.
Exactly.
Can I
We are
tell a
like,
story?
Exactly.
we are like, if you take your phone from a kid, 13, 14 years, he has no clue what he will do. He will sit like a dumb kid. We are so dependent. So I think minimum 18 years of this Rahu cycle will take. I mean, Andrew can also add into this if.
Yes.
No, I
Andrew,
100%,
would you like
100%
to share
agree.
your views?
Yeah, 100%. It's all Rahu, but it always was Rahu, but somehow the Rahu is kind of broken out. It's like the
Yeah.
wild animals escape from the zoo. And there's just a very interesting story I'll tell. Uh, there's a friend of mine, and he was living in Brazil, and he became a close friend of somebody from the Amazon forest. He was from one of these tribes that live in the Amazon forest, but somehow he'd come to the city and he became an officer in the Navy, in the submarines. So he was having this, serious job and that. But from time to time, he went back to his village. So when he went back to his village, you have to go up on the boat and then you have to walk for a few miles. And he would come to some point on the outskirts of the village, and there was a spot. He had to sit there. He would sit there, and they would keep him sitting there for, maybe 6 hours. No one would go and see him. They would just notice what he was up to. And if he could sit completely still for 6 hours, they would let him in the village. Otherwise, he'd have to go back to the town. So this is the corruption. If we look back to say, even in, say, India, 2 generations or 3 generations ago, completely different consciousness. People could sit still, right?
Yeah.
If they had nothing to do, they'd be just smiling. But not because out of laziness, it was just the joy inside, Now,
Yes.
where's the joy? It's all got sucked, like by this Rahu effect. Of course, if you do force the children to give up their phone, after a while they start talking to each other again. And later on they say, "We feel much happier, but can I have my phone back?"
So the kids has also started thinking like Rahu. So they
They
also
have,
play with you now. They
yeah.
also
Yes.
play with you now.
Rahu is the enemy of sattva. In the Vedic Astrology, Sun, Moon, and Jupiter are sattvic planets. And the sattvic planets are the only ones that give any sense of satisfaction. If you follow the Sun, Moon, or Jupiter's path, and the Sun is essentially selfless service, and the Moon is just being caring, and Jupiter is wisdom and generosity without expecting anything in return. So if we follow those things, you get a sort of natural sense of satisfaction. Life becomes somehow satisfied. I mean, really satisfied. But then Rajas, which is Mercury and Venus, it's always promising satisfaction. It says, well, just earn a little bit more money and you'll be happy. Or just have some better girlfriend, you'll be happy. And it never happens. No one has ever succeeded in feeling happy because they got a bit more money. In fact, the more money they have, the more they're miserable. You know, I remember a client, he had multi-millions, but he was just crying because one of his, this is an Indian guy, of course, because he had, all his friends were wealthier than he was. Like someone at his, from his school had started a business, got paid 400 million when he sold it off. So he's crying because I only have 5 million and this guy has 400 million. I mean, it just shows you that, and this is not an uncommon thing. I remember I had a client in South Africa, a businessman, and he said, my target, I'm going to earn 10 million. I'm going to be worth 10 million. This guy was like 70 years old or something, late 60s. And I said, well, how much you got now? I said, just about 2 million. I said, is that enough to live happily for the rest of your life? He said, yes. I said, so why are you killing yourself? Because I'd already seen in his chart that the time for making a ton of money was past and it wasn't coming back. So I said, if you hang on to this idea, all it means you'll have to be born again to have another go. And this is a very spiritual guy. And when I said that, I could just see it's like, it hit him really hard. And after that, there was no talk about $10 million. So we got to have a perspective on what we're here for. We're not here to collect money or luxuries, Venus, because it's just endless, rotting. You rot inside as the outside gets more and more pretty, You listen to these psychologists who are employed by the billionaires, and they say the people they're shot. And the children are worse. They're completely shot. They have any number of psychological problems, but all we see is the private jets and the super yachts and one thing I noticed about these super yachts, because you've got to be a serious billionaire to have a super yacht, right? But if you watch any of these videos about the super yachts, I once decided to look. Every single location on the yacht had the alcohol delivery system. It was just what they call a gin palace, and why would you? I remember seeing somebody, some super millionaire from Mumbai, and they had some video of him entertaining his friends on his yacht, a little offshore. I mean, of course they were eating meat, but they were just drinking and drinking. So why would you go? Why would you need to go to sea just to get sloshed? And why would you be doing it if you got everything in life? Like, what's the point? There's something has gone wrong inside. It's the Rahu, isn't it? I mean, I'm just supporting what Alok said because it's just the truth. It's just rotting in all directions because the sattva has been suppressed. In the past, there was at least some idea of sattva, religion or something, which the people were keeping going. And now there's been this kind of, and you look at the youngsters in India, their parents, or definitely their grandparents, they did puja at home, they did some meditation, they chanted. There was a generation after generation of some kind of spiritual practice. Doesn't matter what the cost. Everybody was doing something. Maybe the parents were still keeping it up, but the youngsters have kind of, they're too busy with their careers, right? And there are lots of implications from this. I mean, one thing is they're missing out on the personal benefit, but they are carrying with them, the punya, or whatever you like to call it, doesn't just stop. It carries forwards into the next generation. There's some kind of momentum. So the youngsters, the young Indians have this tremendous momentum. The face is shining. You think this guy must be doing serious sadhana, and you ask him, no, I'm not doing anything. It's the energy of the parents and the grandparents showing up. But if you wait another generation, it'll all go. It'll be dead. The whole momentum will be lost. And there's another factor which I've observed with many Indian clients is that, they're having all sorts of problems. They have a great, they've got earning lots of money, but there's all this problem, that problem. And I make some inquiry, and, there was they're from some village. They originally from some village. And there in that village, there was some devata, maybe a Kula devata, which the family was always attending to in some way. They went and did little puja, and they did this and this. And it's just been abandoned. Now they wonder why they have so many problems, because there's some genetic connection to that devata. I've asked clients to go back and do something in their village, at least something, have a big puja, feed a lot of people, arrange for some regular puja. You can afford it, just do it, And it's completely turned their whole life around. Suddenly all these problems sort of evaporated. So we have to see a bigger picture, we're not just a little individual. There's a whole sort of momentum of what's gone before us in our families. And there's also, many factors that are beyond us, which, should not be forgotten.
Okay, Andrew, before we move on, and while we are at the topic of AI and automation, I would like to ask a quick question. So could AI and automation lead to job losses from an astrological point of view, or they could create more job opportunities?
Well, I mean, just in fact, there's been a lot of job losses already, and we have hardly got started with it. Because now the AI as it currently is, I wanted to look at the charts of a couple of key moments in the AI evolution. But the current generation of AI is still a bit lacking. It's not up to the job of replacing humans, except for certain tasks. I mean, if they could make the when you call into a company and you get this ridiculous thing that says press 1, press 2, and if that could be made a little more intelligent, that would be a boon for society. But right now, what's happening? Companies are firing people, assuming that they can replace them with AI, and then the AI isn't very good at it, so they keep on 1 or 2 humans. Like I had a client, and he was in an office. There had 20 people writing copy for the company. And they fired 19, and he was the only one who kept his job, but they halved his salary because they said AI is going to do all the work. All you have to do is just check the AI. And he was telling me the AI was just useless. He had to virtually rewrite everything, but now he's being paid half for the same work. I mean, because the bosses think we can just save some money. And the result will be more mediocre production. Of course, AI is improving. It's definitely improving. And if it really improves, then everybody's job is definitely a risk.
Okay, so what you're saying is that, jobs are going in a major way, and this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning. Just the beginning. You see, right now it's the white-collar jobs that are a threat. Because everything you do sitting at a computer, many of them will be done by the AI. But then next year, we're going to have hundreds of thousands of robots. And all the blue-collar jobs in the factories, Tesla plans to replace the people with mostly, what there'll be jobs for people to supervise the robots. But after a year or two, they'll say they actually don't need supervising. In fact, they'll be hiring robots to supervise the few humans that have a job. It is a very serious situation. So I looked at now you see, when ChatGPT was announced, there's a time when it was announced. And ChatGPT was a pivotal moment because even though there was lots of AI before that, that was when it suddenly sort of hit the psyche and it really worked, in a way that hadn't before. And that was 2-3 years ago. And then the latest big hit was this Manas. Manas? You heard of Manas? So the thing is a Chinese company. So what they did was they put a sort of front end together, intelligent front end, And behind it are all these large language models that do various jobs. So you tell the front end, oh, go and give it some requests, which could be quite complicated, involving many stages. And it just figures out what has to be done by which LLM, writes the necessary code, gets them all to do it, puts it all together, and delivers it. So it's doing the whole job. Not, up till now, you had still got to be a programmer in order to put the product to ChatGPT does something, then you have to go to the image generation thing, and then you have to do the web scraping, and you still need to be a super techie to put it all together. And Manos was the first time somebody had said, no, we can do all this automatically. Why not? It should be possible. You see, they showed that it could. So it's a shock to the whole system. And the chart's got Ketu in the Lagna. I mean, it's in Virgo of all signs, which is very tied up with Rahu. So it's and ChatGPT's in Ketu Dasha. It's all Ketu and Rahu. It's just like this. You can see, because these agents, what they call agents, AI agents. Manos is the first example of a really good AI agent. After a while, everybody will be producing them. And then they'll put them inside the robot, and then you just tell the robot, tidy the house. And it'll know what to do. It goes here, it goes there, uses the vacuum cleaner. You don't have to tell it what to do. It figures it all out. And that's a huge threat. Huge threat. Because these guys are capable in many ways, but they're not conscious, but they have a lot of capability. So we want some company to employ us because of our capability, right? But the problem is that if they can hire somebody who worked 24 hours a day for no salary, I mean, it's like going back to the days of the Roman Empire, isn't it?
Okay. Moving forward, Alok sir, let's talk a bit about the practical applications of astrology in the field of careers and corporate culture. How can astrology be used to hire professionals for corporates? And while hiring, what could be the astrological combinations which define an effective corporate leader?
I think it's a very good question, because I'm doing it, I'm using it. So what happens normally when you go for an interview, right? So interview, especially, so if your communication skill is okay, right? If your communication skill is good, and your presentation, I mean, the way you look and then the way you carry yourself, then very high chance that you will crack the interview, right? And this is what happens, that people come with a very polished communication skill and they crack the interview, and when the company hires them, then when they join, then you come to know this person is not worth, because they can fake the CV, and then they can fake themselves. Now, how in some of the companies have approached us. I'm consulting a lot of people, big businessmen, that astrology basically can help in this, because through chart we can pinpoint that, okay, this person is good for administration job, this person is good for marketing job, this person is very good in finance, but right now he is going into a terrible time, and he's going into the 12th Lord Dasha. If he is handling your finance, obviously there's going to be a lot of problem. So the businesses have become very smart in hiring, because when they are hiring for CXO's job, a lot of companies, I mean, CEOs and the owners of the company, they are approaching us, and then they just want us to check the chart. So it is now sometimes very, very skillfully they ask for the birth time. But if they don't have the birth time, then also we have the Chandra Lagna, right? Because we have their birth date. And this has really worked very well. I think this is going to increase moving forward, that human resource department should also have a consulting Jyotishi also. Because what will happen? You are hiring a very intelligent person, no doubt about it, but he's going through divorce, and he's not telling you this into the interview, in the interview, and he's like fully stressed, or maybe he has a depression combination, psychosis combination, obsessive compulsive disorder combination. So the degrees and the previous work experience is basically not telling the exact story for the future. So if we understand the future of the person a little bit, not getting into deeper thing, but this can be a very important and very useful tool that a Jyotishi can predict. Okay, he is currently running into a very good dasha. He can be a very good asset. But what happens? You hire a CXO and he's running into an eighth lord dasha. He's your CEO and he's running into eighth lord dasha or maybe a bad sade sati. Then what happens to your company? And then you will figure out what is happening because people will leave you if he's running into eighth lord dasha. So here Jyotish comes into the picture, and most of the people in India use it, but through the back door, not from the front door.
Exactly.
From the back door, you see that when they are making a decision of say $1 billion, $100 million, they will come to a Jyotishi and ask just for the confirmation. But we can use astrology in hiring, because that is the most important, that is the most problematic thing in companies nowadays, that everybody wants to have a very big salary, but they don't have the required skill to perform a job. And then
Exactly.
they fake in the interview, and then obviously that person is not capable of doing this job. He got that job and now he is into stress, so that person is also not very happy, because he is not able to make up the requirement of that job. So if we can use this and then if we can balance it, that okay, this person is good for administration job, although he can spend 3 years in marketing, because what happens when you go out from a college, you are not the chooser. If you are placed into some company, since you need a job, you will start that job, right? It happens with across world, right? The first job. And what happens in corporate culture, if you are trained, if your first job is in marketing, everybody will offer you a marketing job, right? It will be very hard for you to basically change the industry and you say, okay, I'm an admin guy, I don't want to get into marketing. So if we understand this and if we have the chart, we can analyze, okay, this person has a great Surya and it is a Digbali Surya. If we can put him into administration, he will do wonders. See that? Same with the leadership, the question which you asked. Now, I mean, there is a classical debate that leaders are born or leaders can be created. Through chart, actually, you can identify. I think Andrew will also agree on this. That we can see, okay, how is the 10th Lord place, how is the Sur place, how is the Arudha Lagna, where is Surya from the Arudha Lagna. So we can specifically for the leadership position, it is very important that you know the person in out, and nobody tells you in the interview. So we have one Arudha, which is shown in the real world, and I am a very different person. But you are putting a bat on me hiring as a CEO. I need to know the Lagna, not the Arudha. Because Arudha is anyways can be fictitious, right? Nobody in a corporate Kevin, nobody tells you that okay, I have some sleep disorder, so I don't sleep throughout the night, and I wake up, I sleep at 5 and I will be always late in the office. So nobody is going to tell you in this interview. So I think when we use Jyotish in business, especially in hiring and delegation of authorities, it can be very, very useful. Very useful. Although I mean, people are using it from backdoor, I will repeat, but in a modernized world, it looks like, oh, we will not use it. But if they use it, it is very helpful.
You've just pitched in for an astrologer's seat in corporate world. Why
It
should
should be
corporates
there.
hire astrologers?
See, I tell
So,
you, Anjita ji. So what happens is you take a psychological test, right? For a child in India, what will be his stream, what subject he should take? They will take a psychological test. For employees also, you will take an aptitude test and a psychological test. I am a MA in psychology. Everybody can fake it, but you cannot deny your chart. If
Exactly.
the
exactly.
astrologer is right, if the astrologer is an eligible astrologer, you cannot deny. So which is more useful? So combination of both. You have some psychometric test, you have some aptitude test, and then for 5 minutes just see the chart. That will give you a better picture.
Yes, sir. in many cases, it will be the deciding factor, sir.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Because I mean, once they start using it, they'll soon forget about the other tests.
Yes. Yes.
It's a relic, you know, in the 19th century, there was this, you know, religion was very oppressive. I mean, I'm talking mainly in Europe. But of course, India was under all kinds of oppression. They had the British and the church, you know. So the scientists tried desperately to get away from this. So I think this is part of the reason why there's this sort of paranoia about having anything to do with anything that sounds religious, you know, which should have gone away long ago, you know, how long since Indian independence, and is still suffering. But slowly, you can see how much has improved over the last few years. So gradually, sanity is getting restored, and the respect for these ancient sciences is coming back, because they've always been there. They've always been trusted by the leadership, as you say, behind back door. It's famous that you know, the Pope decided to ban astrology, but he kept on consulting astrologers through the back door of the Vatican. And the same thing goes on with all the other religious groups. You know, it's like, you know, they don't realize this is a serious science. I mean, part of the problem is there's a lot of people who misuse, but the science itself is very serious, useful science, and especially for hiring. You know, if companies don't pay attention, they'll just create lots of problems for themselves. You know, the charts show, you can see exactly what the person's psychology is, what their problems are, what their real motivation is, when they're going to succeed. I mean, these things are kind of obvious to a good astrologer. So, you know, you can't really hide anything.
When these people who are hired by this company, they have the problem in the company, and then they will come to the astrologer.
Yes,
Okay,
that's exactly.
I'm having a tough time in my office. I say, my dear friend, you are hired for a wrong post. That's why you are having a tough time.
Exactly. You know, that's the thing. You see, somebody has a good job, everything's going smoothly, everything was fine, and then they tell us, oh, well, something happened, but nothing really happened. It's just that they changed dasha, and they were struggling. I mean, I told him he'd be struggling from this date. He said, yes, that's it. Because, you know, the dasha changed. So then some remedy needs to be done. You know, just because that's the main point of Jyotish. We should see what the remedy is. Try to do it, not just be a victim of our circumstance. Try and improve. Isn't it? The science has got the remedial side, and that's a critical part of it.
Okay, Andrew, now let's talk about women in the corporate structure. What planets or combination of planets indicate challenges or biases women usually face in corporate settings, especially related to equality and sustainability?
Well, you're asking two men. And I'm not even in the corporate sector. I decided long ago I wasn't going to the corporate sector. But I do have female clients, quite a lot of them, who are in the corporate sector. Like I say, they have the same complaints as the guys. It's just that they think maybe I'm being discriminated against because I'm a woman. But no, it's just everyone is being discriminated against. You know, and the other thing is that, you know, Mars and the Sun are the two executive planets. So if somebody has a strong Sun and a strong Mars, they can't bear anything but being the boss. So if a company hires them, they have to give them some position that's a fairly decent position with a lot of freedom. You know, they can't be too much supervised. Otherwise, it's miserable for everybody. So, you know, this applies to men and women. I think, you know, different companies have different cultures. But it's better not to think, I think it's better to, I mean, this is my humble opinion, is that it's better not to get into a thing about being part of a category that's being discriminated against, because then you're left feeling angry, but there's no fix. You know, because everybody has their own destiny. It doesn't matter what body you're born in. You have a destiny. If you're going to succeed, you will succeed somehow. It may be more difficult. There may be more resistance, but your destiny will carry you forwards. So I think it's better to focus on the positive side and not get caught up because the color of my skin is wrong, or my hair looks funny, or whatever. You see what I mean?
Okay.
Anyway, maybe Alok is a more.
Okay, Alok, sir, can we have your
Yeah,
views?
Yes, I will. Agree on what he's saying, and I will use his words. So, no Surya, no Mangal wants to be dictated by a female. This is the bitter truth. This is number one. Number two, what is happening if you observe around what is happening nowadays? Because of this impact of Rahu, so what Rahu will leads you to? Rahu will always leads you to Venus, isn't it? Because Rahu will create a lot of desire. You want to make a lot of money. What you will use for that? I mean, for what purpose you will use that money? For maybe luxury, more entertainment, more female. You see that? More alcohol, right? So what is happening is because of impact of Rahu, this is my observation, the impact of Venus is increasing because they are friends. And if you see in Kalpurush chart, second house is a house of sustainability, lord by Venus. So Venus is a planet of sustainability, and Venus is a planet for females. These two things has become very important in corporate world, if you see right now. So now what Rahu is doing, which is good sign, fortunately, the only good thing which Rahu is doing, that Rahu is forcing Surya and Mars to include females into the leadership. It is now the equality has become a mandate, not something which is like you are doing any favor to any female. It has become a mandate because Rahu is forcing Surya and Mars to include Venus in the leadership. This is number one. And number two, since Shukra is the planet for sustainability, second house, the entire world is now thinking about sustainability. So that two things which you have asked, this is my version, maybe, and you can add, but this is how I see it, and this is going to increase. This is going to increase. So the female participation, which was always avoided, is going to increase in corporate world. They will be taking maximum good position as the moment, like when we go forward and the impact of Rahu is more, then females become more, because Surya, we have to always remember that Surya gets debilitated in Tula. So when encountering a female, it always difficult. So once a female is given a leadership position, she can rise much faster than a normal man. And what I see in future is the impact of, because of the impact is Rahu is increasing, the dominance of female in corporate world, or be it any world, be it politics, be it anywhere, it is going to increase. Yes. And the good portion is like the sustainability factor is also going to increase. And then since it is impacted by Rahu, there can be some gimmick also in this sustainability thing. You see that? There can be some gimmick also in this sustainability thing. So it doesn't mean that it is 100% true. So people can misuse these funds. People can misuse these funds. You see that? But the impact of females is going to increase. Definitely.
Okay. I think there's one thing which we should, I agree with all that. But there is, if you look into history, there was a book written by some Englishman quite a long time ago, and he was studying the empires, famous empires. And what he observed is that when the empire becomes stable and there's a period of peace, the rights and possibilities for women always increase. And if it starts if peace and stability starts disintegrating, it's always the women to take the hit first. And that is unfortunately the truth. So I think that women should be very, it's very important to go for supporting anything which maintains the integrity of society. Because if it starts shaking, for sure the women are going to suffer the most. Now, there's another factor we shouldn't forget, which is that these PF chemicals, which are everywhere now, in every body, are very strongly testosterone suppressors. This is affecting both male and female. And we've known about this for quite a long time, like several decades, that it affects particularly young men. The young men who is exposed to these chemicals in the womb in the last trimester, they come out with a little less IQ and a little bit more angry and hostile kind of behavior. So what we have is, the young men of today's world are not doing well. And what you see in, say, in the university medical school, 70% of the students are women.
Yes.
Same in law school. I mean, it's got everywhere. This is happening. And what's happening now in America in the last couple of months is this huge sort of backlash. Sort of like the white men are saying, hey, wait a minute, what about us? And so there's a big pushback to try, okay, stop promoting people because they're female or they're black or something like that. It's going on in a big way over here right now. So this is all, it's this, in some sense, it's got to be allowed. Like in England, it got so bad, it hasn't improved, but it got so bad that the government actually appointed a minister who was going to be responsible for trying to help the young men. And of course, they appointed a lady for the job. So I just said everything, isn't it? It's a very unfortunate situation. It's a very complicated situation. But I think basically we have to consider that everything must be done to try and maintain stability in the face of Rahu's constant attempts to disrupt everything. And that really, the fundamental thing is the stability of each human individual as a person. And for that, it comes down to our spiritual sadhana, because there is absolutely no other way. There's no other way. You either do some serious yoga or whatever spirituality you have, then your life will be moving upwards in a positive direction. Otherwise, the whole trend in society is kind of disintegrating. So this is the critical thing. And India has the whole tradition. We should adopt it to mass scale. That'll make India the anchor for the world.
Okay. Alok sir, as we know, training is a very integral part of any corporate culture. So what planetary combinations impact corporate training and skill development programs?
So it's very basic, fundamental Jyotish question for me, because you see, if we talk about career, Mercury is the Karka of the 10th house, right? What does it mean? That if you want to grow in your career, you have to be a student, isn't it? Because
Yes.
Mercury is a student. That's why he's the Karaka of the 10th house. That if you want to grow in your career, you have to be student. You always have to be learning. That's why so big companies always put so much of thrust on leadership development, training, new subject, what you are learning, because they know that if they want to sustain their business and grow their business, their employees has to be trained properly. In for a normal man also, the day when you say, I think Andrew is typing something.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for a normal man also, the day when you start thinking that I know it all, on the same day your career is going to fall.
100%.
You can grow in your career only when you are a student.
That's
Because
right.
that's the reason. If you value the Karka of the 10th house, your career will always be flourishing. The moment
Exactly.
you said, okay, I know it all, and then you stop Mercury, you are not at all a student, you are not understand to learn anything. You said, okay, I'm the boss of this industry, I know it all. So if the companies like Kodak, Nokia, BlackBerry, they can be vanished, everybody can be vanished. What happened with these companies? They didn't learn. You see that? They didn't upgrade themselves. So the most important aspect, that's why all the big corporates give full focus on training and development. And at the same time, if the person do some remedies also, maybe worshipping Lord Vishnu or doing some pranayama, then the career can easily accelerate, basically. And the student bhava, right? I am a student. I am still learning. I'm still learning. This mental state, if you are into this mental state, then come, I mean, whatever happening in the economy, that's a macro perspective, but you will get one job. That is for sure.
I will ask one quick question, sir, that I think is very important here. Alok, sir, this is for you. So we know that we are souls with a soul journey on earth. And all of us have a planet which is the highest degree called the Atmakarak, which defines our soul purpose. On the other hand, we have another planet which is got the second highest degree called the Amatya Karak, which influences a native's career or professional. Many a times we see that the careers are not in alignment with the soul's purpose. So, how can astrology help a native align their career with the soul's purpose, the life purpose?
See, so whenever Atma Karaka is 6th, 8th, and 12th from the Amatya Karaka, or maybe they are 6th, 8th, 12th from each other, then the person is always like discontented in the career, majorly. That, for example, he wants to become a doctor, but he is an engineer, or he wants to become a painter, or he is an accountant. So this kind of thing can happen. Obviously, how astrology can help? The astrologer can tell the person, okay, in this birth, there can be discontentment with your career. So you can have two things. One, do your career as if for the sustenance. The basic role of Amatya Karka is the sustenance on this earth, right? It is not only career. This is the reason where you will be surviving on this earth. So you do your career as if you want to stay on this planet, you want to feed your family, you want to do your stuff, and then you can have passion, which is related to your Atma Karaka. So the Atma, the food of the soul can be fulfilled by the passion, and then the food and the household thing or any other materialistic thing can be fulfilled by the Amatya Karaka. Normally, what happens is when they are not into Kendra or Trikona from each other, but the person still tries I mean, he is stressful and is just trying to do maximum in the career, which normally doesn't happen. You can get a lot of money, but you cannot be contented, you cannot be satisfied. Like Andrew saying earlier, 50 billion guy is crying in front of him because somebody else is having more money. What is this? I mean, he is still not contented or satisfied the kind of money he has made. This is a clear case of Atma Karaka, Matya Karaka is against each other, basically. So the chart has already made. What you can do is basically you can be aware that, okay, in this birth, my job is to do this, and then my journey is towards this. So I can pursue one or two passion for my soul contentment, and then I can do my job or career, whatever I can do for the materialistic. This is what I think about.
Okay. So,
I can say,
Andrew,
yeah.
would you like to add or
I
should
would,
we?
yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. The Admakaraka is really the representative of your incarnation in this birth, and it's the critical planet in the chart. Really, it represents you. People are just like that Admakaraka generally. So that's one thing you have to pay when you're dealing with somebody. Suppose a Surya Atmakaraka, you have to behave with them completely differently because it's just the way they are. You see, so if the Amartya Karaka, actually the Amartya Karaka, they say the six from the Amartya Karaka is showing what the soul really wants to do. But it may be neglected by the Atma Karaka if you have some combination like Alok was just mentioning. Because the Atma Karaka is not fundamentally interested in such things. It wants to know itself. It wants to develop as a person or as a soul. And the Amartya is just there to sustain or support, So, this is like studying these two things is a very critical thing in a chart.
Okay. So with this,
in a
we
way,
come to,
you see, just can I say one last thing? In a way,
sure,
you see,
please.
the Atma Karaka is what you have to get over. If it's Surya, some fat ego, You have to get over it. And that's why we worship the 12th from the Atmakaraka, because he's the only one that can actually help us get out of that bondage. So, we shouldn't be proud of our dysfunction. Every planet has its dysfunction, or try to protect it or hide it or anything. We should try to get over it. So whatever, like Mars, the path of Mars is the path of ahimsa. Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, Mars people have to focus on ahimsa. Don't do any violence, because their natural tendency is to do something violent. And that just gets them digs a hole and they fall into it. So for each person, whatever the sort of negative tendency of that planet is something that one has to kind of resist. So that's my last contribution.
Okay. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Aloksa, for this very lovely discussion we had today. And hope to connect with both of you very soon with whatever we could have left out in this session because of lack of time. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Namaste.